UFC Vegas 45 full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Sweet main event. Derrick Lewis fights surging contender Chris Daukaus. We got a lot of action to talk about. Smash that like button. Let's get at least 180 likes on this full card breakdown and the final one of 2021. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn those post notifications on. Let's get into it. The first fight of the night. Sayles, Jourdain Leavitt, the Monkey King, takes on Sayles, former Dana White's Contender Series winner. I think Jourdain Leavitt does get the win here. His wrestling game is still really good, and I know the loss to Puelles, he was a big favorite and then got beat, but Claudio Puelles has actually turned out to be a pretty solid fighter. He just beat Chris Grutzmacher. I feel like Leavitt is going to expose the holes in Sayles' game, and that 100% implies lack of takedown defense. I feel like you're going to see consistent wrestling attack from Leavitt. Potentially could see him getting a sub, kind of leaning third round submission for Jourdain Leavitt. Won't be surprised if we see this fight going the full distance, but I see Leavitt controlling with grappling. Sayles is nasty on the feet, and if he has an opportunity and can land his powerful hooks, which really are his signature shots, I think that he could hurt Jourdain. I don't see it happening. I see consistent grappling attack, the wrestling being on point. I think Jourdain Leavitt gets his second UFC win and bounces back from that disappointing loss to Claudio Puelles. Odds for this matchup, minus 110 to minus 110, essentially. Pretty much pick'ems here for right now. And I see Jourdain Leavitt getting the W. Let's keep on running. The next one, Don'Tale Mayes versus Josh Parisian. Heavyweights going after it here. I think Don'Tale Mayes can knock Josh Parisian out. Parisian's a loopy striker, a little bit awkward with his stand-up, likes to put a lot of forward pressure, not necessarily athletic, kind of slower for the heavyweight division even. Don'Tale Mayes, scrappy guy. I mean, he's got pretty good rangy boxing and he does hit real hard. Has fought decent competition. I mean, you see the loss to Ciryl Gane, lost to Nascimento, who's a tricky grappling specialist. He beat Roque Martinez. On the opposite side, Josh Parisian also coming off a win over Roque Martinez. I think the power difference for Mayes, the athleticism edge, I think he lands the cleaner shots. I don't think Parisian's size is going to be a successful attribute here, which I think he can use against smaller heavyweights. Don'Tale Mayes is taller by 2 inches. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage. I think he will get to the chin of Josh Parisian. I have Don'Tale Mayes knockout. Seeing it in the second or third round. Expect power on both sides for certain. More power on the size of Don'Tale Mayes, and he gets it done. Looking at the odds, Parisian, the underdog, plus 175-ish range. You got minus 190 for Don'Tale Mayes. He's a solid favorite. I do expect him to win. Not necessarily, future contender here, but fun heavyweights on both sides. And I do expect to finish in this matchup with Don'Tale Mayes being the one to win by KO. Next fight, Raquel Pennington, Macy Chiasson. I'm really excited to see these girls go at it. With a new champion, the weight class is wide open for contenders, depending on what Nunes does, but Juliana Pena did clearly beat her. I have Macy Chiasson winning against Raquel here. I think the size differential is a factor. She's 5'11", Raquel only 5'7". You also see a reach edge, 72 inches to 67.5. Boxing skill set for Chiasson is pretty solid. Good straight punches, controls the range well, and uses like a wide fighting style. Her hands are out a bit far. Raquel Pennington is going to want to clinch up. She's going to want to get in close. I think she's going to struggle to do that with Macy here. I think that Macy lands the more effective strikes. I do see moments for Raquel Pennington, but not enough to win the bout. Macy Chiasson upsets Raquel Pennington, win by a decision. Looking at the odds for this one, minus 180 for Raquel, plus 170 for Macy Chiasson. I like that plus 170 underdog. I'm on Team Macy for the win, and I do think win by a decision in this fight. The next fight of the night, Charles Air Jourdain versus Andre Ewell. I will look for any way to pick against Jourdain after, up and down results, but Andre Ewell's not the guy to beat him. I think really here, Charles Jourdain can knock Andre Ewell out. Athletic southpaw with Charles Jourdain. He's got a knockout of Doo Ho Choi, which I think still does carry weight. Did lose his last one to Julian Erosa, but did drop him and have moments striking. He's really fast. He's a nasty kickboxer with real speed. On the opposite side, Andre Ewell is a rangy southpaw. Both guys southpaw, so fun southpaw versus southpaw matchup. You get decent low kicks from Ewell. Not necessarily the most physically strong guy. I don't see him bringing a wrestling threat here or even much of a submission threat. I think that Charles Jourdain should actually be able to knock Ewell out here. I'm thinking second round KO for Jourdain. Ewell getting knocked out in the last fight. Coming into this one, Jourdain having a bit of power. I think he gets him down. Andre Ewell knocked out in the second round by Charles Jourdain. It's at 145 as well, so let's note that. Ewell moving up to 145 pounds. I really think the chin will be tested here against Charles Jourdain, a guy known for missing weight at 145 pounds. Bit of a size differential. The reach favors Ewell, but the speed definitely favors Jourdain and the power as well. I'm going knockout in the second round. The odds obviously in favor of Charles Jourdain, about -200 to +170, depending where you are playing. I like Charles Jourdain by KO. I think he's going to beat up Andre Ewell in this matchup. Next one, Sijara Eubanks and Melissa Gatto. Big win for Gatto in the last one, beating Victoria Leonardo. They throw her to the wolves with Sijara. I got Sijara Eubanks here. The grappling game will be on display. She is a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's a beast of a grappler. Great top positional control. Hard girl to shake off. When she's on the top position, it's going to be hard for Gatto to do much of anything. Decent jiu-jitsu with Melissa Gatto, but a clear-cut physical strength differential strongly favoring Sijara Eubanks. I think her offensive wrestling will be on display here. Gatto is young. She still has a lot of time, but I think this is too much of a jump too soon, really, here. Your second fight in the UFC, you fight Sijara Eubanks. I think Eubanks goes out there and puts on a dominant display. She got a finish in the last one, but she's not known as much of a finisher. I could see her working this fight over the course of 3 rounds. I do expect that to happen. I have Sijara Eubanks win by a unanimous decision. Looking at the odds for this one, of course, in favor of Sijara. -195 best value Sijara, +180 for Gatto. I think that Sijara Eubanks is good to go here. I think she goes out there and beats Melissa Gatto. There's still some hope with the prospect for the future, but this is not a favorable matchup. Sijara for the win by a decision. Justin Tafa versus Harry Hunsucker. Hard-hitting heavyweights in what is expected to be, on my part at the very least, a war, but it ends early. Hunsucker hits damn hard and he rushes forward with that power, putting himself out of position to be caught by counters. Justin Tafa, tricky southpaw with good boxing skills. His boy Tai Tuivasa recently just knocked out Harry Hunsucker in 40 seconds. I see Tafa having similar success, but it won't be as quick. I could see Tafa also getting stunned by Hunsucker. If you watch Hunsucker, he'll close distance with powerful wide hooks and look to just blitz his opponents and knock them out. You look at that fight against Gerald Vandera, Hunsucker did have some moments on the feet. Justin Tafa, most recent fight, lost to Gerald Vandera by a dominant decision. This matchup a lot more favorable for him. I expect a counter strike to land. I think Justin Tafa sleeps Harry Hunsucker inside of the first round in what is going to be like a killer be killed fight, because Harry Hunsucker is that true killer be killed heavyweight style, and I think Justin Tafa can get it done here in this spot. Now the odds for it, way too wide. -315 Tafa, +275 Hunsucker. I don't have enough faith in Justin Tafa to want to play him at that price tag, but I do expect him to get the KO in this fight. Raoni Barcelos versus Victor Henry. You go from fighting Timur Valiev to take on a guy making his debut. Both guys 34. Interesting note. Victor Henry, a lot of pro bouts, 26 fights. This will be his 27th. I think Raoni Barcelos should go out there and put a good display on Henry, but there are things to like with Victor Henry. He's a smooth kickboxer. He's very explosive and fast. He has nasty kicks. He also has a solid ground game with decent subs. On the opposite side, though, Barcelos is tricky. He's got that Thai style of striking, solid speed, and does have knockout power, mean hooks, low kicks are good. And I mean, if you look at the game of Barcelos, you thought potential future title challenger. Now at 34, losing to Valiev, it's a hard road back to that position, but I don't think Victor Henry is going to be the next guy to beat Barcelos. I think Barcelos gets the W here. I got to give Henry some respect. The man's never been finished. I think Raoni Barcelos goes out there and wins by a unanimous decision, but great opportunity for Victor Henry to get inside of the UFC here and take on a top flight potential bantamweight in Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos for the win. The odds sitting wide, of course, for Barcelos. Minus 275, plus 235. Got to respect Henry for hopping in, but he's not going to beat Raoni Barcelos when it comes down to it. The featured prelim of the night, Gerald Meerschaert versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I like Meerschaert in this fight. He's a tricky submission specialist. He's rangy. You know, don't sleep on the stand-up game of Meerschaert because he has a couple knockout losses. He has solid hands, good forward pressure, a little bit awkward. Stoltzfus was losing the striking exchanges to the jiu-jitsu ace Rodolfo Vieira. I think Meerschaert can win the striking exchanges here. I don't think Stoltzfus has the power to do substantial damage to Meerschaert. Granted, if you catch him at the right point, you can definitely beat him by KO. We've seen him KO'd twice in recent fights, but a big win in the last one. Huge upset over Muhammad Muradov. Before that, he beats Bartosz Fabinski, and then you see the Khamzat Chimaev loss in seconds, and then the loss to Ian Heinisch also in seconds. I think that Gerald Meerschaert, though, gets a submission in this fight in the second or third round. I'm not super impressed with Stoltzfus' stand-up game. He's got okay kickboxing, but a little bit on the slower side, and Meerschaert, not necessarily the most technical striker, will still have opportunities to land and make it competitive striking, work the fight to the floor, and get the submission. I think Meerschaert goes out there and gets a W, which will be his third in a row. Really gets some momentum running to enter 2022 after some rough fights. Minus 220, plus 195. I like the strong favorite Meerschaert for the win by submission over Dustin Stoltzfus. Now, the main card. Smash that like button if you guys have not yet. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. First one, Darren Elkins versus Cub Swanson. 5 years ago, this prediction's a lot easier. Swanson coming off a bad loss to Giga Chikadze, though I was impressed with him against Kron Gracie and Daniel Pineda. He now fights Darren Elkins, who's riding a 2-fight winning streak, beat Derrick Minner in the last one, coming back from some great submission attempts in the first round for Minner, nearly having his arm snapped. Darren Elkins is not a guy that's going to tap. And I think Cub Swanson knows the game of Elkins and is going to be expecting a gritty, hard fight. Swanson needs to keep this fight on the feet, avoid being pressed against the cage for too long, and get the combination strikes going. I think Swanson does win it, but it's not going to be easy in this fight. I love Swanson on the feet. I think he has a capable ground game. He's an athletic guy, clear-cut speed advantage. Don't go for the finish against Darren Elkins. Even if you have him hurt, really take your time because this is a guy who's made his career coming back from adversity. I'll pick Cub Swanson to win an educated decision, fighting behind great straight punches, work the jab a bit. As Elkins tries to close distance, you got to fend them off with decent flurries and move away. I think Swanson can win, but an underdog pick on Darren Elkins for the upset wouldn't be a bad one, but I'm going to ride with SoCal Cub Swanson, who now has changed his nickname to Killer Cub Swanson, the Cub Swanson 2.0, and his loss to Chikadze looks a lot better, seeing Giga Chikadze just beat Edson Barboza by knockout, so that's also something to note. Looking at the odds for this fight, Swanson minus 195 best value, plus 180 for Elkins at best value. I have to ride with Cub SoCal Swanson, or now Killer Swanson. I do think he wins, but don't count out the damage. Do not sleep on him. I am going to be watching this fight live, potential live bet type of fight, not necessarily wanting to throw down prior to it. Fun fight for certain, though, here. Next one, Diego Ferreira versus Mateusz Gamrot. I am high on Gamrot as a prospect. I think he is going to run over Diego Ferreira. Of course, there's things to like with Diego. High-level jiu-jitsu. He actually has some sneaky knockout power, good hooks, little bit stiff. And I think Gamrot has a dynamite straight punch that he can potentially land. And he also mixes in good wrestling. Does he go out there and want to threaten Ferreira on the ground? I actually wouldn't be shocked if he looked for some takedowns here. You got to just watch out for the counterattacks with Ferreira's jiu-jitsu. I think that Gamrot will be able to deal with this. Comfortable out of both stances. I would consider him a beast of a prospect. I feel like that jab, straight punch is going to be a difference maker in this fight. I think Diego Ferreira gets knocked out in the second round, and I think Mateusz Gamrot is on his way to emerging as a real contender in 2022. This is to finish off 2021 with a damn staple. Controversial loss against Goran Kutatelidze in his UFC debut. I think he bounces back with a vengeance, beating Diego Ferreira here. And I mean, granted, not really bouncing back. He's won his last two fights. And even Gamrot, his opponent Kutatelidze said after the fight, I thought Gamrot won. Truly, you have a 20-0 Mateusz Gamrot. Unfortunately, the decision was not on his side, and I think he's going to beat up Diego Ferreira here, knocking him out, especially 36-year-old Diego, who's been knocked out. He was knocked out in the last one against Gregor Gillespie. I think you see Gamrot knock him out worse than that for certain here. Looking at the odds, -170 Gamrot, +145 for Diego Ferreira. This is a go out and bet it now type of fight. I will be money lining Gamrot. I think he's a fantastic bet, and I think he runs over Diego Ferreira. Let's keep on running up this card. Raphael Assunção versus Ricky Simón. Assunção's on a tough downhill slide. I think Simón does go out here and beat him. Assunção last fight, knockout loss to Cody Garbrandt, which at this point doesn't look great because Cody Garbrandt just got destroyed at flyweight. Granted, still a dangerous striker, unfortunately losing to an absolute savage in Kai Kara-France. On the opposite side of Assunção, though, is Ricky Simón, who is a savage wrestler. Chain wrestling attack, heavy forward pressure, strong as they come, win over Merab Divashvili, great top control. Stand-up game is improving and getting better. He definitely does have some power. Heavy low kicks that he'll throw. Assunção, a little bit awkward with the striking. Fights out of both stances. Has a lot of hand movement in his style. It's kind of something very unique to him. He has like his hands out and they're flowing left, right, up, down. Solid stand-up game I would consider for Assunção, but more so, has the jiu-jitsu base where he can really shine with his submissions. Not in this fight. And at 39 years of age, 10 years, the elder of Simón, this is a clear-cut Simón showcase. I have Simón winning by a dominant, unanimous decision, putting the pressure on Raphael Assunção. Looking at the odds for this one, of course they're going to be wide. -265, +245. I like Simón at -265. I expect him to go out there and get the victory, but I will say -265 is a lot to throw down money line. I do believe he beats the 39-year-old Raphael Assunção, though, and continues to emerge as a bantamweight contender. The next fight of the night, Amanda Lemos versus Angela Hill. I looked for any way possible to pick Angela Hill here. I'm just having a hard time seeing it. There's too many opportunities for her to be hit by Lemos, who is a ferocious striker. Excellent kickboxing, extremely fast hands, serious KO power for the women's strawweight division. Physically strong as they come. Had a career up at bantamweight, did lose to Leslie Smith, that being her most recent defeat, and that was 4.5 years ago. Lemos has been on a run at 115. Big win over Montserrat Canejo in the last one. Before that, beat Liviana Souza, Mizuki Ionu, and a win over Miranda Granger. 3 out of the 4 are finishes. Angela Hill has fought the best, but not performed well enough to get the victories over the best girls in the weight class. She's got solid kickboxing. There's sometimes a little too much fluff on her punches, and I think Lemos can find the perfect counter here. Angela Hill, 36, taking some losses at this point. Obviously, she's going to be very cautious with Lemos. If you're Hill, you need to fight extremely patient because a counter from Lemos could be the end. And honestly, I think that Amanda Lemos could be the girl to knock out Angela Hill. I'm thinking Lemos' second round knockout. I think she goes out there and wins, but the odds are just disgustingly wide. For Lemos, she is -350, +330 Angela Hill. There's really no money to be made with this fight, unfortunately, and I expect Lemos to continue her run as a legit contender at 115. The co-main event of the evening, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Belal Muhammad. Can Belal pick the perfect game plan to beat Wonderboy? I don't believe he has the tools to do so. Gilbert Burns beat Wonderboy in the last one, but Burns is also known for dynamite knockout power. Belal, not a bad striker, but doesn't have that one-touch KO power. He's got a good wrestling base and heavy forward pressure. I think Wonderboy is going to fight it smart. He's going to stay on the back foot, lots of movement. Belal will try and press him. I don't think he'll be able to. I know kind of a pattern outside of Gilbert Burns, like to beat Wonderboy outside of, the Darren Till upset, which was controversial, the total fluke against Pettis. You look at Tyron Woodley versus Wonderboy Thompson. Woodley made Wonderboy come to him. I don't think Belal, though, has the game to do that, and he also doesn't bring the knockout power to stun Wonderboy. I expect the karate striker Wonderboy to fight well from range, manage the range extraordinarily well, expect sidekicks, expect jabs, expect straight punch combos, and I think Wonderboy works towards a unanimous decision and continues to be a threat at the top of 170 pounds, but it's going to be damn hard for him to get a title fight here. I think Wonderboy gets the W, but it's a hard road ahead. And this against Belal Muhammad is a favorable matchup as long as he can keep this fight on the feet, which I do believe he will. He's known for solid takedown defense, and the loss to Gilbert Burns, there's no shame there. Minus 240, plus 215. I think Wonderboy goes out there and gets a win by a unanimous decision. Next fight and the final fight of the night. The final fight for the UFC of 2021. Smash that like button and subscribe if you guys are new. It's Derrick Lewis versus Chris Daukaus. I cannot wait to see these heavyweight savages go at it. I've sat on this fight. I've researched a lot about both guys, and obviously I know a ton about both guys at this point, having seen majority of their UFC careers. I think Chris Daukaus is 100% technically superior. I'm going to pick Chris Daukaus to win the fight. But Derrick Lewis needs just one punch. I'm having a very hard time picking a fighter, though, who only has one way to win, which is one punch. I could see Daukaus circling around, slowly breaking Lewis down, getting him to the floor even potentially, and tapping a tired Derrick Lewis out. Daukaus has a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's very competent with his striking. He has a clear-cut speed edge. But Derrick Lewis hits you one time, and he shuts your lights off. I have this feeling that Chris Daukaus is going to put on the performance of a lifetime. You fight Derrick Lewis behind an educated jab. You don't overextend yourself. You stay patient with him. He will fatigue by round 3. Derrick Lewis gets tired, and it's a proven thing. 3, 4 guys who have beaten him. Junior Dos Santos, Cyril Gane in the last one, Mark Hunt. Slowly break Derrick Lewis down. You can stop him. You want to go head-to-head, power for power in the first round? Chris Daukaus will get knocked out. He won't do that. He'll have a smart enough game plan, and I think he goes out there with that intellectual game plan, slowly, methodically breaking down Derrick Lewis for the win. Expect an educated jab. Expect some good combinations. Expect some clinching. Derrick Lewis, though, will be the stronger man early. If Daukaus is looking to get this fight to the floor, you need to slowly wear Lewis down before you do that. The wrestling game of Daukaus is not good enough to get the fight to the floor and control from there. Obviously, this, though, is a true pick'ems fight. Derrick Lewis just recently fighting for the interim belt. I'm just feeling Chris Daukaus on the rise right now. I love Derrick Lewis. I wish I could say he's going to go out there and sleep Daukaus in one, but not being impossible, I think it's less likely than Chris Daukaus slowly picking apart Lewis. And I think Daukaus could actually break Derrick Lewis and stop him in the 3rd or 4th round by TKO. I will ride with Chris Daukaus, but an absolute pick'ems. And probably something you'll lean towards live betting rather than throwing a lot down. Now, the odds for this fight at the moment, Derrick Lewis a plus 120 underdog, Chris Daukaus minus 135 favorite. I'd like to see the lines as the week goes on. I want to see these guys when the first round starts, really. There's always value in a Derrick Lewis knockout prop bet because he has the power to sleep anybody in the world. But I think Chris Daukaus has the technical abilities to go out there and beat Derrick Lewis. I can't wait for this card, guys. The final one of the year. I hope you guys enjoyed this year's worth of breakdowns. We got a lot coming in 2022. We'll have action, no real fight action, but action on the channel to talk about during the break. We'll do, an MMA award show, and then we'll have just random podcasts popping up. The late night lives will continue. Even though we will be in an MMA drought, the content on MMA Expert stays. Smash that like button, guys. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Much love to all my continued supporters. We got action coming out all week. We have this week's best MMA bets, the late night live on Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have the Moneyline podcast, weigh-in recap show, and we do have the final fight companion of 2021. So make sure you tune into that on Saturday. Much love, guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.